Greetings and welcome back to the show, World War II Books Where to Start. I'm your host, Admiral Otto Ciliax. And today, let's do some surface warfare in the Atlantic, featuring the Royal Navy versus those nasties, the Kriegsmarine. It's a titanic struggle fought betwixt ships, men, and the ocean, as well as against one another, and the fate of the free world hangs in the balance. Okay, let's kick it off with The Convoy, HG-76 by Angus Constam. This is from 2023. It's a recent one, and there's 320 pages total. So Angus Constam is a frustrating author for me. I quite enjoyed his Bismarck book, but then found his effort on the Scharnhorst and Battle of North Cape to be quite inadequate and nearly incompetent in many respects. So what do we get here? Here he redeems himself somewhat, although he has several authorial glitches remaining that are quite distracting to me. Here he wants to make a big claim. Really big claim that the defense of HG-76 in the last month of 41 was the actual turning point of the Battle of the Atlantic, not May of 43. That's likely how he pitched the book to the publisher, or I should say how his agent pitched the book to the publisher. A big claim to justify the outlay on yet another World War II book, and what's more, a World War II book about an obscure convoy that only war junkies remember. And I do mean war junkies. No one in the general public or even slight familiarity with the war gives a damn about HG-76. While I find this endless and, sad to say, still ongoing arguments about turning points to be both irrelevant and time-consuming and long since solved, I will say his claim is not supported by his writing, and I don't think that any other naval historian worth their salt would agree with him at all. No one would back him up on this. What HG-76's battle actually was a sharp rebuke to the Wolfpack tactic doctrine that obsessed donuts, but it was not an end to the idea at all, nor were the U-boat losses overall in that month of December 41, and 3 in this particular convoy battle, nearly enough to put an end to U-boat ops. It did point out the delusional talent pool in the U-boat force, not just in COs, but in experienced NCOs and ratings, as well as a stark warning that convoy defenses were indeed sharpening up, and greater thought needed to be given to how the U-boats could be used effectively against these increased obstacles. Constam has a stable of author sins he delights in using, and it seems he's contracted an incurable case of cliche-itis. Sad to say. It's a terrible thing. I think there ought to be a coordinated effort to develop a vaccine for this. I really do. You should see a doctor for treatment. In the meantime, there's surely something, some antibiotics or something that would help him out. Beginning beyond these indictments of the book, what we have is a fairly good recounting of the events of this convoy. It's a Winston special, returning from Gibraltar. There was a concurrent convoy departing from the Rock at the same time, loaded, heading to Freetown. But Dönitz, for whatever reason, chose to attack the homebound convoy, believing the intelligence reports from spies that the escort was just a paltry 5 ships, though one was quickly ID'd as a carrier. In fact, the escort was actually a full 17 ships for a 32-ship convoy. Very strong stuff in late 41 for any Wolfpack to attempt. Even if you had the big 3 still in action, Preen, Kretschmer, and Shepke, they would have had a tough time with us too, no doubt about it. And add insult to injury, Johnny Walker's on the scene, escort commander of Group 36, making matters even worse for the Germans if they had only known it. Constam begins the book with a teaser, an attack on the Audacity, which is the carrier. He claims resulted in 1 hit, although not fatal. Now, comparing it to Blair's Hitler's U-boat war, Blair does not record this first attack, citing only 3 torpedo spread that resulted in her sinking a little over an hour, losing 73 men killed in the process. So there's a disparity here. Was there 2 separate attacks by the U-boat commander? Was there only one with the 3 torpedo spread? I don't know. This bastard conversion of a cargo ship, the Audacity, to barely usable escort carrier was an awful sign of desperation. Top speed 15 knots. Air group of 8 birds at most, although they customarily carried about 6, and sometimes only 4. No hangar deck. No blister to protect any kind of add any kind of protection against torpedoes. And operated with what you have to say is a stunning amount of carelessness. At night, steaming outside the convoy with that slow a speed, it shouldn't be. Nah, you got to stay within. You got to stay inside the herd, man. And you're not operating aircraft at night. So what are you doing? you're being foolish. If she had possessed any real speed, she still needed an escort of at least 2 destroyers, and that's bare bones minimum to protect her for a screen. But on this occasion, she had no help at all, and she ends up easy make for U-751 and Gerhard Begolk, which earned him a KC. So Engelbert Andros had been scheduled to be part of Operation Drumbeat, but he was pulled off to attack HG-76, and this extremely experienced captain, the most senior captain still in combat, had no better luck, being sunken by the Deptford with the loss of all hands. Deptford then later rams Walker's sloop, the Stork, smashing a deck house where 5 U-boat POWs from an early capture were being held. All 5 are killed, and 2 of them are smashed to unrecognizable pulp in this collision, for which Walker refused to give any reprimand to the other captain, showing his intelligence over regulations and implicit recognition of the strain and exhaustion the crews were working under in this convoy battle. A rare case of common sense in the Royal Navy from a commander. We like it. We also have the strange case of U-574 under Gengelbach, attacked by the Stanley. Stanley fired 15 DCs and 2 runs to bring her to the surface, where she pops up close to Walker and Stork, and they engage in this circling battle, so close the Stork can't fire down at the U-boat, but eventually Stork does ram the boat, rolling her over on her beam ends. There then ensues some kind of raging argument between the captain of 574 and his chief engineer. Wrong time for such a thing if there ever was one. Survivors claim the engineer shot himself, and after the crew had abandoned the boat, Gengelbach climbs back down the hatch and rides her down with him. So it's just really bizarre. There's a great deal of padding in this book concerning the disposition of U-boats in the Mediterranean. That doesn't bear on the topic here at all, and it's an on and on and on thing. We're not talking about disposition of U-boats in the Med and their campaign there. We're talking about a convoy battle in the Atlantic outside of Gibraltar. Focus, man, focus. So that's bad. But we did have a good section on the FW-200 Condors I kind of liked, and their impact on the battle as well as their fragility with their defenses and the problems they had operating at such long distances without obviously any kind of fighter escort available. So they were on their own. If they got caught, they got dead. Pretty rough gig. So overall, 3-star effort here, albeit it's got some really certain glaring deficiencies. It certainly shows the need for another full draft and some careful cross-checking by an impartial third party before going to press. I don't mean just a proofreader. I mean somebody who's in the know, who's really technically proficient and historically proficient with all the little nitty-gritty details here of convoy battling and all the ships and the captains, because there certainly isn't constant. Readable, but not essential. That's the Convoy, HG-76, Taking the Fight to Hitler's U-Boats by Angus Constam. Then we'll come back with Escort by D.A. Rayner from 55. This is a brief 225 pages. Memoir. The ambition of a naval officer to command his own ship is a constant theme in naval historical writing, for memoirs and well as other histories. To engage in battle and come out victorious, it's a well-worn, well-understood theme. It's a trope, it's a truism, it's a thing. D.A. Rayner was an odd bird to rise to command, an officer in the RNVR, Royal Navy Volunteer Reserve, or as I saw it satirized in a Douglas Freeman novel, really not very reliable. This is a memoir, Rayner becoming a novelist after war and writing a book that would become a great film, The Enemy Below. He's got a chip on his shoulder, though, about the size of the Rock of Gibraltar. Roughly that size. I mean, it could have been a little bigger, could have been a little smaller. Kind of tough to judge. About rank and class and not being a regular RN officer. And he's going to grind this axe to shiny perfection throughout the short course of this recital of his war years. And it wears mighty thin on this reader in very short order, because there's not enough to hang on to here onto here to not make me toss it across the room in frustration. He really did have some wild adventures in the war. He's got a surface gun action duel against a U-boat. He recreates Preen's course to get into Scapa Flow as kind of a ha to the Admiralty. He did without an XO on his modified Flower-class Corvette, the Verbene, that he scammed out of the Admiralty when he was actually due to command a different ship, not ready for action. His various scrounging expeditions by himself and his crew to augment the stores throughout the war. There was a brush for the Quito Butai when he's anchored at Colombo, the only ship not hit or sunk that was a naval vessel that day. He claims his ship shot down 3 IJN aircraft. There's also a bit about patrolling the South Atlantic. This is kind of a hoot here. Using TBS between various escort vessels, using code names for each CO in this escort screen as they're hunting for this U-boat. It is kind of a disguise to the Germans because he claims some of the U-boats in the South Atlantic had English speakers for radio operators, and they were listening in and trying to distract the escort vessels by sending false signals to them, false voice signals to them in English. Tried to dig him out to reveal his position, is what he claims. My BS alarm went off, bang, 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 rather loudly, I must say. There was red lights flashing over the house. It was kind of bizarre, man. I was running outside trying to figure out what was going on, and I eventually realized, oh, it's just a BS alarm, man, calm down. So it really smacks of fiction right here. Maybe he's kind of tuning up for his post-war career as a novelist, but that didn't feel quite right at all, man. It kind of sounded like something that would have been in that Tom Hanks movie that was out recently. So, like an old-time sheriff, though, eventually he finally gets his man, or in this case, the U-boat, late in the war with his escort group, which by this time he's its CO. He finally gets a confirmed U-boat kill to achieve for himself, put it on the mantle, and he's so done in by this point. He turns his command over to his XO of his ship right away. He said he's shaking so bad he can hardly walk. Puts himself to bed. He's a total shambles after 5 years of commanding ships at sea. And he tells his admiral ashore, quite honestly, after a bit of a bereavement leave, he can't go back to sea. He can't do it. He's done. That's quite a bit of an honesty from a serving line officer. He says a lot of destroyer guys went to pieces during the war, and they were quietly shuffled off to other posts or rehabbed and given a second shot. But the RN wasn't as brutally, shall we say, malignant or hostile to its personnel like the RAF was. If you got battle fatigue in the RAF, they would shame you relentlessly, have you clean toilets and mop out the mess hall and clean the officers' club. They just treat you like shit. But the Royal Navy apparently had a different ethos about it, knowing the strain that their commanders were under. It didn't expect them to be superhero, stiff upper lip all the time. So that's kind of refreshing, kind of shed some light on the RN's culture. This carries the moniker of a classic bit of naval warfare literature, a must-read. But I found his axe grinding to be too bitter for my taste. It's nonstop. His obsession with class and rank and how the seniority system for non-regular officers works and how you worm and wiggle your way up into positions of authority to get that posting that you want. It's relentless. It just digs in and will not let you off the hook for it. And by the end, why the hell do I care about this? That's right, I don't. It's very much a thing for him. It really is. One thing that's not a thing for him is the idea, the metaphor of the ocean being a living thing and a malevolent or a caressing lover. He doesn't buy into it. He says the ocean is the ocean, and that's all that it is. It's the medium in which you work. It's your workplace. It's your office, and go get over it and get on with it. But he does buy into the spirit of a ship. He thinks every ship has its own personality, and you can feel it when you walk on board. It's not just the matter of the men who are there; it's actually the feel of the steel, and it's got the engineering, the engine room. Each ship has its own kind of living personality. So he is a bit superstitious in that respect. I give this 2 stars, really. I was going to give it 3, but all the axe grinding, as I'm going over again in my mind, kind of dim it down a bit. So it's kind of faded. The vibrancy has faded for me, so it's going to be a 2-star. That's Escort by D.A. Rayner. All right, then we'll come back with an oldie but a goodie, Channel Dash by Terrence Robertson from 1958. A brief 197 pages in paperback. It's 225 pages on my Kindle. Don't know the reason for the difference in pagination there. So it's an extremely rare event in World War II and told in detail. A really rare bird, right? A German naval victory in World War II. What do you mean, you ask? What about Bismarck versus Hood? Well, that was sort of a win, but it was a loss a couple days later. So what do I mean is the Channel Dash. Let's get my battleships out of Brest and on home, because they're getting pounded by the RAF. We're never going to be able to mount them into a sortie out into the Atlantic like we wanted to. It's just not going to happen. So we got to save these ships and run them home. And we're going to do so right under the noses of the Royal Navy. We're going to run them up the channel and thumb our noses at them, say, ha, ha, ha. You didn't expect that, did you? And it works. It shouldn't have. It shouldn't have. But let me explain. All right, so we start off with a teaser about a French dock worker pedaling his bicycle out to see his erstwhile girlfriend in the countryside after a hard day of work for the Germans in the dockyard. He's going to go down to the basement for a bit of nookie with the girl if any eyes are watching. But while down there, what she's actually doing is getting the radio set out and to London. London calling, sending a secret message about the two battleships are about ready to come into dock at Brest. They've been missing in the Atlantic for a while. The RN has lost track of them. They don't know where they are. They were conducting a merchant ship raiding out in the Atlantic, and they kind of went poof and disappeared. And the RN is chewing his fingernails down to no worry about it. But thank goodness this dock worker has figured it out. So we got a bit of skullduggery here. Whether it actually happened or not, who knows? It's from the 50s. But then we're going to switch to the Court of Inquiry after the shambles of the Channel Dash, where the careers and fates of the man who fought it out and bungled it will be decided in a dreary, smoky, smelly government basement room. After that thriller-like opening, you'll stick around for the rest of the book. And the rest of the action here is quite good, considering his age. I've read one of the book by Robertson, Night Raider of the Atlantic, which I reported on in one of my videos quite a while back. He was one of those first-gen writers that had that gritty wartime writing style to him. Kind of almost like detective fiction from the 40s. And here it works wonders to get you into the feel of the story. So we then have to track back to Eugene Esmond, Lieutenant Commander, who participated in the strikes against Bismarck, which I just mentioned. So we get that saga retold in brief. But then there's a long slog through Esmond's family history to deal with. I found that one kind of mind-numbing, especially the heraldry and the medieval stuff, tracing back generations. Like, we don't need this. We really don't. Okay, he comes from a prominent family. I get it. You could have said that in one sentence. But he's going to earn the VC posthumously for his attack on the battle cruisers during the dash that saw his squadron of swordfish get torn apart, much like John Waldron's VT-8 at Midway. But for here, there's no larger result at all. So the failure to coordinate a proper aerial attack on Charnhorst, Gneisenau, and Prinz Eugen is really damning of the British system of command here, because they couldn't get their various squadrons to get to the right spot at the right time for an attack. Fighting bad weather, of course, normal for the channel, but you got Coastal Command and Fire Command all kind of jiggling around who's got authority and different communication systems, and you shouldn't have too much of a guess as to where these ships are. Plus, you've got Luftwaffe air cover kind of pointing the way. Hey, there's stuff over here if there's birds overhead. And they still couldn't get their act together to mount a coordinated attack. So everything goes in piecemeal, ragtag throughout the grim, gray, rainy daylight hours of the Channel Dash. And just nothing happening here. There's no success. A lot of swordfish shot down. Having faintly anticipated a run home through the channel, it might be on the German menu. No real means of countering it were ever thought through, and this is one time where the Kriegsmarine had all their ducks in a row. They really did. Excellent coordination between themselves and Luftwaffe for once, not choked off by Goring from doing something positive for their sister service. A little more of this kind of cooperation between these two sister services could have gone a long way for German fighting forces in the war. Really could have. As it was, the three ships make it through the channel in good order, but later, of course, during their final runs into their new home ports, they suffer from minefields. In the case of the Gneisenau, This eventually leads to her getting pummeled by the RAF as she is under repair later at the dockside in Germany. That pummeling by the RAF, it ends her service life, and her main battery is dismantled from the ship and then ends up as coastal defense guns along the coast of Norway, where they are still rusting away today, and at least one of them is open as a tourist attraction. And man, that'd be a great thing to go see. I would love it, because you can get inside, they take a tour, take you down through the various decks. It's like a deck, and it's like set up like a battleship's interior, for the hand room, power room, magazine, and then the quarters for the crew and all that. It's really, really awesome. I would love to go see it. So the end result here is a victory for the Kriegsmarine, but at the same time, it's a mission of failure, because they've lost the ability to operate in the Atlantic, and they will never ever attempt to break out again. Strictly a Baltic Sea stopgap force from now on. It's going to threaten some North Sea Russian convoys, but never be effective. Never be effective again. So the brief run of the surface fleet of the Kriegsmarine handled it sometimes with skill, and a lot of times with utter bungling. It's come to a sad and sorry kind of meh ending here. But this will later play into the RAF's paranoia about turpits breaking out and doing some damage, it's kind of shooting themselves in the foot over and over, being paranoid about one ship for so long for no reason at all. It kind of just ties them down forever with this fascination of one ship, and it doesn't reflect well on the R and there at all. That'll wrap things up. I should say I give that 3 stars. Pretty good for its age, really is. Although if you notice the cover, the cover image I put up, that's of a pocket battleship. That's not of Scharnhorst Gneisenau or Prinz Eugen. But that'll wrap things up for today for Surface Action in the Atlantic. I'm Admiral Ciliax. I'm going to enjoy the award of my KC for my bold action and running the gauntlet against the Royal Navy. I done did good. I feel like I'm going to hang out in Norway for the rest of the war and try to stay out of the cold, not get sick from pneumonia or anything. I did my bit. Now it's up to those other guys to do their bit. Until next time, happy reading.